Due to the weak Japanese yen, traveling to Japan has become a bit cheaper, but everyone wants much cheaper rate. Well, despite that, in reality, many tourists end up overpaying for a bunch of different things in Japan for several reasons. So today I'm going to share things I always see tourists overpaying for in Japan and how you can avoid doing that. Well, the items tourists overpay for the most is sushi. Sushi in Tokyo is really expensive. For example, if you go to a high-end sushi restaurant in Tokyo, it will cost at least $200 per person. Well, of course, it's really delicious. However, outside of Tokyo, you can eat the same quality of sushi for much cheaper. The reason is clear. Tokyo's brand prices are overwhelmingly high. It's the same for comparable sushi. Even Sushiro, the most famous comparable sushi chain in Japan, has different prices depending on the location. So look at this. You will notice about a 20% difference between rural areas and Tokyo. So you might not need to eat sushi in Tokyo as long as you have a specific reason. Well, taxi is a comfortable means of transportation, but you might want to limit its usage if you don't want to end up overpaying your transportation fee. I heard many travelers are confused about how fast the meters go up in Japan. Well, for example, from Haneda Airport to Tokyo Station, it costs around $60 by taxi, but by train it's only about $5. One more thing you should know about taxi in Japan is that price goes up by 20% during the night and early morning. It depends on the operators, but extra charges normally are charged between 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning. But unless you really need to move by taxi, such as super early in the morning, it's a good idea to stay away from using taxi in Japan. Another thing is Shinkansen. Well, Shinkansen fascinates not only Japanese people, but all travelers from the world. And it's a super convenient and efficient way of transporting people around Japan. But you can end up spending more by choosing the bullet train. Well, the ticket prices for bullet trains are mostly fixed, and they tend to be more expensive compared with air flight. I guess especially with early booking discount and LCC options provided for air tickets. You can fly from Tokyo to Osaka for about $40, but it costs around $100 by bullet train. So to avoid overpaying your transportation fee during your trip in Japan, I recommend checking flight prices frequently, while sales sometimes start suddenly in Japan. While otherwise, using several apps that compare your transportation options will also help you make a wise decision. Well, one thing I really wonder it's worth paying is, jail pass. But so many foreign travelers end up overspending their precious budget on JR Railway Pass. But please think it is worth it before buying it. Well, it's a famous ticket that you can use across Japan. But if you are planning to hop around the cities to make the most of your stay, it's maybe worth it. But however, I also hear in many cases there is a lot to see in each city than expected, and you end up staying longer in each of them. With the price increase introduced in late 2023, it's becoming more and more difficult to make it worth the initial investment. So before buying a JL pass, please make sure your itinerary is already decided and fixed. And calculate to confirm it will definitely be cost effective. Well, another thing I want to share is capsule hotels. Well, capsule hotels are unique accommodation that are highly appreciated by travelers by limited budget. But however, you can't skip the price comparison nowadays. But as the capsule hotels get more and more visitors, some of them are not as affordable as you might think. But with the rise in the number of visitors in Japan, some capsule hotels are increasing their prices. But in that case, you might pay quite some amount only to have a tiny capsule space. But to avoid overpaying for your accommodation, I recommend comparing the prices of capsule hotels with famous Japanese business chain hotels, like Toyokoin and Upper Hotel maybe, just to be sure. Well, another thing I really feel overpaying is actually a popular spot, which is Skytree and Tokyo Tower. Two famous buildings in Japan in Tokyo where you can go up to the observatory to see the whole view of Tokyo. If you want to avoid overpaying for the experience, but you should also know there are other high buildings can give you beautiful scenery as well. Well, one famous spot highly recommended for tourists on a budget is the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building in Shinjuku. This high skyscraper is in the middle of other tall buildings, but you can access its observatory and it's free of charge. But thinking about it, you need to pay like $30, $40 for like Tokyo Sky Tree or Tokyo Tower. You know, it's kind of overpaying, isn't it? Alright, so another thing I want to share is all you can eat option in Japan. When you are looking for a nice spot to eat, you might find various all-you-can-eat style restaurants in Japan, but especially in Tokyo. But if you aren't cautious, you might end up spending more at these kind of spots, so be careful. The price point tends to be a little higher than purchasing a dish at a normal restaurant, so unless you make an effort to eat as much as possible, you end up overpaying for it. In addition, it will depend on the restaurant, but sometimes what is offered at a buffet can be lower quality than ordering a la carte. By the way, Japanese people often visit all-you-can-eat restaurants, well, me as well when I was, student. But once they become working adults, they hardly ever go to such places. But I think that means everything. Alright, so next one is also popular spot to go, convenience stores. Convenience stores are super convenient and you can find almost everything there. But please keep in mind that it can be a little pricey compared with buying groceries at supermarkets or drugstores. Because they are open 24/7, their price point tends to be a little higher. That is why Japanese wives don't go to buy things in convenience stores. But if you want to travel with a limited budget, it's a good idea to avoid. But I personally believe that you don't need to mind that because it doesn't make a huge difference compared to other things I introduced today. But yeah, anyway, it's all up to you. Well, one more important thing I need to share with you is since foreign tourists have increased in Japan, there has been a rise in what's called foreigner pricing. But I think this wasn't hardly seen 5 to 10 years ago in Japan. Well, especially in places popular among foreign tourists like you, there are many food items and souvenirs sold at prices that Japanese people would find unbelievable. But of course, for those of you who don't usually live in Japan, it might be a little difficult to judge whether these prices are high or not. But however, please keep in mind that the things might be priced for foreigners. If you want to save money, you might avoid overpaying by checking prices on your smartphone before buying is really important. But obviously, money isn't the only thing you actually waste in Japan. But I often see many foreign tourists wasting precious time in Japan as well. To avoid this, please be sure to watch this video as well. We are introducing ways to avoid wasting time in Japan. I hope you all enjoy your trip to Japan. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon. Bye.